These weekly dividend ETFs have been performing. Let me tell you. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the channel. We have switched things up, so we are Spencer Invest now instead of aka Spencer Dunbar. A little bit of a rebrand, but nothing is changing in our content type. As you can see, we are still doing our challenge for the high-yielding, weekly paying dividend ETFs. I still have all this money in here, and we have been doing pretty well, I must say. We got all the dividends paid out today. It is Monday, and I'm really excited that they came in early this week. So we have this video. We're going to go over the full breakdown, what was paid out, by what, and the price appreciation, the change since we purchased these securities to see if NAV erosion is factoring in. So if you guys are interested in these weekly paying dividend ETFs, if you're interested in dividend yielding stocks, anything related really to stock market investing, this is the channel for you. Following my journey and trying to work with other people to enhance all of our knowledge, you're in the right place. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're interested in any of that. I put out a couple videos a week, and I'd love to have you as part of the community. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the numbers for this month for this week, because it has been a very, very good week. So as you can see, we are technically up $15.54 in the account because I had a flat $800 investment initially. We do have quite a bit of cash currently. Our total USD cash is $63.87. And so I have a mission for you guys. What should I do with the cash being created? I am not reinvesting, so I am holding cash from these securities every time they pay a dividend. And I want to know what you guys think. Should I put this all into SCHD? Should I put it into a different fund? Let me know what you think. I'm really, really curious. I kind of want to just buy SPY with it and see how much we can have in SPY at the end of this challenge. But let me know what you guys think, because any opinion is important. So drop a comment and let me know, and then we'll get right into the data on this. So I'm just going to go over quickly the 8 weekly paying dividend ETFs. I think there are only currently 8 on the market, so I do have all of them. We have IWMY, QQQY, and WDTE, which are all the Defiance funds. And then we have the 2 YieldMax funds, YMAG and YMAX. And then we have the RoundHill funds, the most popular by far. QDTE is phenomenal, RDTE is good, and WDTE. All of these funds have been performing relatively well. But we're going to go over this last week's performance and total performance, as well as the dividends. And then at the end, I have a spreadsheet where I'm breaking down how much we've been paid out every week from each security. And so all that data is going to be tracked. And so we'll go over that every single episode, so you guys can see, even if you missed other episodes, you'll be caught up, hopefully. So as always, I already said it, like and subscribe, and let's jump into these Defiance ETFs and see how they've been performing. So we'll start with the Defiance ETFs. I like to start with IWMY. We can see our unrealized P&L is just down 0.95%. So total P&L, we're down $1, and we currently have 3 shares. I purchased it at $34.61, and currently it's $34.28. But it actually is a little bit lower than that in the after hours. So we can see this chart. This is a very, very ugly chart. They did do a reverse split, which is why it looks like this. And typically, I don't like reverse splits because it's not a good indicator for the business, for the stock, for the company, or for the ETF. It usually means they're trying to raise the price, but they're also... They usually will do that because people won't invest in cheaper stocks. Institutions especially, they don't buy things that are under $5 typically. Now, they weren't even close to $5, but they wanted the price of the ETF to be higher, so they did a reverse split. So basically, all that means is 1 for 3 reverse stock split. So if you had 3 shares, it converted it to having 1 share, and they 3 times the value of it, which is why it went from $13 to $41, and now we're back to 34. Sorry, to 40. Yeah, 41. Now we're down to 34. So it has still continued to fall. I did figure out the price adjustments for these for the charts because they were looking a little bit funny, but I mean, it makes it look really, really ugly when we can see this thing is just downtrending pretty consistently until that split. They did jump up a little bit for the split, but we'll see how this pays out, how the NAV holds up versus the dividends that we're making. And hopefully it can still continue to do well. We have an AUM of just under 137 million, and tracing over the dividend yield is currently about 104.4%, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. But now that the chart is actually showing the unadjusted version, so it's not adjusting for dividends and reverse splits and all that, we can see this is an ugly chart. So before, if you looked at that and you're like, what's going on? Just like I was, now it makes a lot more sense. The goal still is for this to outdo the NAV erosion. And I really think it can, but it's going to be tricky. And we want to see if it's still a good investment, even if it can. Because if it's only going to make 4 to 5%, you'd probably be better off with something else once the NAV erosion and taxes and all that are thrown into it. Let's jump to QQQY, the next Defiance ETF. So we can see QQQY is up 0.3%. We've made 31 cents. Purchase price of $34.37, and currently it's $34.47, and we have 3 shares. So the math adds up beautifully. Now QQQY also did the reverse split, and now that it's unadjusted, the chart shows that, and it has still fallen. It's already down $5.60 from the reverse split, and the dividends it's paid out, yeah, they're pretty close to that. So hopefully the NAV erosion isn't going to continue to eat this one alive. We are up since our buy price, and we haven't paid 2 dividends so far. So I think that the fact that this is now weekly might be pulling in some investors to it. The AUM a little bit higher than IWMY, and the yield a little bit lower, but still insane at almost 89%. But the AUM sitting at just over 200 million. So definitely not a bad pick so far. It's green, and when they're green, I am happy because I'm not really holding these for price appreciation. I've kind of said that a couple of times. This is for the dividend, and you're just hoping that the price stays consistent. You want to create something that can give you a crazy good dividend yield, and at the same time, not lose you a bunch of money through NAV erosion. And so that, again, is the point of this whole challenge. So QQQY, so far, so good. We'll throw up the dividends at the end on our chart, but we can see it is a little bit lower. Couple cents, 8 cents, 7 cents lower than last week's, which was 34 cents, and now it was about 27.5 cents. So a bit of a drop there. Could be a bad week. Who knows? We'll see how the end of the month holds out. But now let's jump into the last fund, WDTE. So we are down on WDTE 0.35%, and we can see our purchase price of 42.17 and the current price of 42.03. So we are down 30 cents on this one, which eats away all our gains from QQQY, but still definitely not something I'm super worried about. I'm happy that they haven't gone down faster because some of these will drop. But let's look at we already know there's the reverse stock split. Jumping into the dividends, we can see it paid a 25-cent dividend. It paid 33.5 cents last time. So it has fallen again, and since then only down $4. So it's down less than the other funds, but still something you could kind of worry about. We need those dividends to stay consistent, and we need this thing, the price appreciation, to just trade sideways. AUM is significantly lower at 92.6 million, and we can actually see that the dividend yield is a lot lower too at 56%. I said this last video, 56 is an insane yield. It's absolutely crazy. So if you can still, let's say the NAV erodes 30% a year, you're still having an insane amount of profit. That's still a 26% return, not factoring in taxes and such. So as long as the NAV can stay consistent with these, I'm happy, and I'm happy to keep this challenge going. But I think it's going to be really eye-opening seeing how these truly perform, especially depending on the market and how the market goes. Because the market, if it drops, are these going to be hit a lot harder? I imagine they will, but if implied volatility goes up, the dividend should go up. So only time will tell. But still, I'm not disappointed in this one. It's not even down a full percent, not even 0.5%. So I'm going to keep holding it. Let me know what you guys think of the Defiance ETFs. What is your favorite? Do you own any of these, or are we sticking to the other ones? And let's go ahead and jump into the YieldMax funds. Starting off with YieldMax, we can see we had 5 shares. We are currently up 0.34%. Purchase price of $17.57 and a current price of $17.63. Now with the fixed chart, we can see it has been all over the place. Since they started going weekly, that news definitely helped increase the price, and it has paid out more dividends. So it paid out 22 cents, and then 22 again, and then 20, almost 21, and then 20.5. And our last one was 17.5. So the dividends have been consistently going down, which I don't like, but it has a lower yield. They currently have the yield at 31%, which again is really good. And the AUM is higher than all of the Defiance ETFs at 307, almost 308 million. So people have more faith in this, I would say, or at least there's more people holding it than the others. And we have seen it trade pretty sideways since August, which again, I'm not disappointed in at all. As long as we can keep that 30% yield, that would be absolutely phenomenal. But you never know with these ones. And the YieldMax funds are very, very different based off of the underlying funds. And so I think YMax will do really well if the overall market does well, because it does hold all of the other YieldMax funds, or most of them, I believe. So if all the funds are at least doing decent, YMax should do decent. If we see a couple of them drop really hard, that could really affect YMax's price, which is why I'm more of a fan of YMAG. So let's go ahead and jump to YMAG. Another 5 shares. And we can see that we are down on YMAG. We are down $1.24 and 1.3%, which is so disappointing because I've said YMAG is my favorite over and over and over again. We can see with the fixed chart, this thing does go all over the place. This is just in the last year from a high of 21, almost 22. And right now we're sitting at about 1880. So we're not at the low, but we're not far off from it. We're within $1, which you don't really like to see. Well, the low was about 18. Well, actually, even lower on some of these crazy days. Since going weekly, we can see 19, almost 20-cent dividend, 17, 16.5, 28, which was crazy, and now 22.5. So the dividends have been good. We've actually seen an increase in YMAG, and I imagine that the market has been a little bit all over the place, which is why these magnificent 7 companies, which is what YMAG holds, are probably downtrending a little bit. Relatively large AUM at 177.35 million and a dividend yield of 27.63. These yields are going up. Both YieldMax funds have seen an increase in yield since the first video when I talked about them. And so if they can continue to increase that yield and just, again, trade sideways, I would be very, very happy with that. I am happy with my 5 shares of 20, my 5 shares making me 22 cents each, which is good. I'm happy about that. We'll throw all those numbers up at the end and compare it to last week and compare it to the other funds as to how much they're actually paying out, which is very, very important. And so now on to the RoundHill funds, which I think are fan favorites. At least QDTE is the first one that I purchased, and I've owned it for quite a while now. So let's go ahead and jump right into those. All right, the RoundHill fund, starting out with QDTE, which has been doing phenomenally. It is up $1.08 in the account, 1.28% overall, and we can see the purchase price of $42.33 and current price of $42.87. So some pretty decent returns. We only have 2 shares of this one because it is more expensive. And the chart on this one just looks better overall. It looks a lot more healthy than I would say the Defiance funds especially. And it's been paying the weekly dividends really consistently. So we're not looking terribly. I mean, we're roughly the average of where it normally is. The AUM on this one is huge. I think it's the largest in the account at $478 million, and the dividend yield is only 21.92%. Now, I say only because they would kind of say on their website that it was more, but the recent dividends have come down a little bit. So we saw a dividend of 19.5, of 25.6, 21.7, 27, and this last one was 31.8. So the last dividend was the largest we've seen in a couple of weeks. And so I'm pumped about that. And the price has trended up a little bit from the 40 to the 42, almost 43. So again, really happy with QDTE. I think this is a lot of people's main one that they go to, this and XDTE, especially in comparison to YieldMax and Defiance. I think these ones are better. It's just my opinion. Like I said, I like YMAG, but I think that QDTE has a lot of potential, and XDTE especially. So the RoundHill ones are my favorites. They were the first ones. They were the ones that I made most of my videos on initially, and I kind of fell in love with the idea of weekly dividends because of these. So I'm probably a little bit biased, so take that with a grain of salt. But I'm going to keep tracking these ones especially. They're probably going to be the ones I hold in my account. I do own these ones in my Roth. I don't own any of the other funds besides the 3 RoundHill funds in my actual account. So that goes to show you I do favor these. If we do see some crazy returns from the other ones, I will be happy to buy some of them in my Roth account, but I need to see a little more come out of them before I do that. So now let's jump to XDTE, another really popular RoundHill fund. XDTE is also doing really well, up almost a full percent, and we're up $1.02. We have 2 shares, purchase price of $52.31 and a current price of $52.81, almost 82. Really, really solid looking chart. Okay, so they're currently yielding, it says, about 14%, and the chart's been all over the place. We see a low of 44 and a high of, a high of almost 53, so we're closer to the high than the low. But I don't see us getting anywhere near that low, at least on this chart. So really, really happy with this one too. The chart looks much better. We can see some patterns forming, but again, it's staying pretty far within this 49 to 53 range. Not too much breaking out about that. So you could actually track this one if you wanted to dollar cost average in. But with the market being kind of a little bit in a tough spot right now with elections coming up and stuff, I'd be interested in seeing how this one performs, especially compared to the other RoundHill funds. The last dividends we've seen 19.8 cents, 18.8 cents, 22.8 cents, 20 cents, and 21.7 cents. So not a high, not a low on the last dividend, but a pretty consistent payout. I really, really like that these ones are more consistent with what they're paying out. You relatively know what you're going to get, or can at least expect it a little bit better than you can with any of the other funds in the account between the RoundHill funds. And so that's what I love. AUM a little bit smaller of 178.66 million, but again, that 14% dividend yield is pretty phenomenal. Now, people are saying that this one will do better price appreciation wise over time. I think one YouTuber put out a video that was really popular about it, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm excited to see it, and I'm curious to see what the results are for this one in the challenge compared to the other RoundHill funds specifically. Let's go to the newest RoundHill fund, ticker RDTE. RDTE is down. We're down $1.14, down 1.29%. Our third worst performer so far, but it's super, super new still. So I purchased this one in my main account at around $43. It went all the way up to $45 and now has trailed off some. I'm not complaining. You have to give them some time. You have to give them some time to grow. Dividend yield's not accurate on here. I'm not sure what it was. I calculated it around 40% last time we ran the numbers. It's probably around the 30s now, and lower AUM of 53.35 million. So the four dividends, first 36 cents, then 38 cents, then 25 cents, and back up to 30 cents, 30.5 cents. So I'm glad to see that dividend bounce back up. We had a pretty low one in the 25 range just from that 38, which is a pretty steep drop, you know. So I was happy to see this one bounce back up a little bit. And we've got our first full month of dividends from RDTE. So like I said, this one is newer. I'm going to give it more time. I already did buy it because I just like the RoundHill funds. And some of the other ones at the beginning did really well. And so I was hoping RDTE would follow. And it has. I'm still positive in my account. Not by as much now, but I also have the dividends coming in from these. So really, really happy with that. I'm pumped to see this dividend consistency. I think RDTE is probably going to find itself in the 25 to 30 to 31 range. I don't think we're going to see a lot of those 36, 38, 40 cent dividends with this one, but you know, I could be wrong. That's just my speculation with how these ones kind of play out at the beginning. But all that being said, let's throw all of this into the Excel spreadsheet. We'll jump in there and see how these numbers stack up, not only to each other, but to the market, and hopefully we'll make some good money there. So over on the spreadsheet, we've put everything in for what we've made so far. I also added an account balance and a cash balance to see how much our cash is increasing. And so the difference is, remember, these are the number of shares of each. 3 shares of IWMY, QQQY, 2 of WDTE, 2 of all the RoundHill funds, and 5 of the YieldMax funds. So IWMY dividend was a little bit lower. QQQY also a little bit lower. WDTE was also lower. So the Defiance ETFs, their first week of paying dividends was better. This one fallen off a little bit. Let's hope they can recoup that. WDTE has the largest dividend we've seen in the account so far. XDTE, king of consistency, 3 cents above what it was last week. And RDTE back up, which I'm happy to see. So first, that dividend was really, really high, and everyone was like, wow, this is crazy. Then it was really low, and now we're back bouncing up a little bit. YMAG, all over the place. 82 cents first time, $1.40, and now $1.13. No complaints, right in the middle. And YMAX, which is lower, the lowest dividend so far. It was pretty consistent, and now is not. So what we're going to do, we can actually fix this. We will sum all of these together, and it's going to tell us that we made $6.06 so far. And then if we auto sum, sorry, not so far, this last week, which is lower than the week prior, but not by a whole lot. And then if we auto sum, let's do this. So we're going to do equals. We'll get the number for equals this plus this plus this. Enter. $16.42 made so far. I'm very happy with that. We'll pull up the calculator and we can see what our return is. So it's going to be low, of course, but we've only had 3 weeks of payments and 2 of those have been full. We'll divide this by our initial investment of 800, and then we're going to multiply this by 100 for our percentage. So we've had a 2% return just in the dividends. So not in price appreciation, which we've kind of seen. We saw that with being $15.54 above what we were. So I'm definitely happy with that. That's a solid return for our first 3 weeks of investing. And again, not even a full 3 weeks of dividends from these stocks, from these ETFs, I should say. So I'm going to keep tracking the cash balance. We'll keep tracking the account balance. Again, let me know what your favorite one is down below. And don't forget to comment, what should I do with the cash in the account? Should it go into SCHD? Should it go into SPY? Should it go into the S&P 500? Should we put it in, I don't know, a really solid dividend yielding stock? I'm really curious. Let me know what you guys think, because I don't want to pull that money out. I want to leave it in and watch it grow. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Don't forget, Spencer Invests, we're new. Keep looking out for the new logo and everything. Let me know what you think about the logo and the intro and stuff like that down below, because I really appreciate some feedback. And as always, you guys are phenomenal, and I'll see you in the next video.